Second day of Longines Irish Champions Weekend is an absolute cracker at the Curragh, and to help us along we have a 100,000 guarantee for the pick six from the Tote, and this is a pot that is winnable. I do believe it's winnable. We start with a very tough race with the sprint, but if we can get through that and the banker in race 2, we have a very good chance, I think, of keeping this competitive. The first race, Urban Beat, represents Johnny Murtagh. He's having a superb season, his best by a long stretch so far, and I think it'll put him further on the map as Ireland's up and coming trainer really, and Urban Beat is certainly up and coming. Ground comes alight to this horse, very impressive at the Curragh last time, and definitely looks the horse to beat here, but I think there are a few that we'll have to put in to help us out here, including Trésorier. This is a very interesting horse, ex-French, bit of an eye-catcher Roscommon last time. I think the key is going to be the bit of rain, and Johnny Feen having a good campaign as well, a horse racing trainer that I have a lot of time for. Mochalad's another interesting horse. He'd no run whatsoever at Listowel during the week. I think 6 furlongs in this ground will help him a bit more, and Rattling Jewel, with the proviso that he was down to run at Listowel on Friday, he's quite well handicapped, but more so he's really consistent, which is what you kind of want for a bet like this. On to race 2, and my banker of the weekend here is Azira. She was a real eye-catcher first time out. We'll all remember at Tipperary, which brought her on to Galway when she won for Dermot Wells. But since then, she's developed into a very reliable filly. I don't think she's an awful lot to beat here, and her run behind Sea of Class last time was a very classy run. Ran into a real star, I think, in Sea of Class, and that was an excellent performance. I don't think she has to go any better to win this race, and she's the banker in race 2. On to race 3. This is the first renewal of this race as a Group 1, and let's be honest, it's not a great Group 1, but it's probably a race that will improve with its Group 1 status over time, and I think on Sunday it's certainly up for grabs. Savannah Grey is very consistent, won't mind a bit of ease in the ground, and Different League, while a bit disappointing for Aidan O'Brien, Different League just might produce a better performance here with a bit of rain, no problem, and it's a trappy enough little race this, and we're going to put in 2, hoping for the best going into race 4, which brings us to Just Wonderful, and she was Just Wonderful at the Curragh last time. She's a daughter of Dan Silly, beautifully bred. She was quite highly tried running earlier on in Royal Ascot despite being a maiden, but she's been very good since, and that performance at the Curragh was excellent. And Zagatova, her stablemate, she was very well back last time. She was maybe slightly disappointed, but I think there's more to come from this daughter of Galileo, and she basically looks the type that will progress into being a nice 3-year-old next year. What a race this is. Anthony Van Dyke against Quarto, possibly the race of the weekend. I just a little bit underwhelmed by Anthony Van Dyke in winning at the Curragh last time. Looked a bit of a star to me prior to that. There is a little bit of a, I suppose, suggestion that Aidan O'Brien's horses were quiet at the time, and he did do the job, but he just wasn't overly impressive. Having said that, I think he'd be banged there. Quarto is a really well-bred horse by Dubawi out of Volume, who ran really well at the Curragh in the Irish Oaks back in the day, Mount Nelson filly. And Quarto, to me, is one of the big contenders for the Guineas next season. I can't pick between the 2, but we don't need to for the pick 6. And that brings us on to 2 more selections in the 6th leg, which is Latrobe and Twilight Payment. Now, Twilight Payment for me is probably a bit of a left field suggestion, but he's one of my favourite horses in training. Jim Bulger's horses can be a little bit hard to predict. This horse isn't. He's very tough, and he obviously has to reverse form with the winner last time, but I think just because so many people will go with him, Twilight Payment might offer a bit of value. And Latrobe stepping up in trip. He could have gone to the Ledger. Doncaster, he comes here instead. Obviously likes the Curragh, very good record there, and I think the trip will suit.